Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Hoot. When we left off, Roy is facing 9 cottonmouth moccasin snakes. And there's a voice behind him telling him, "Don't move." "Take a deep breath," advised the voice behind him. "I'm trying," Roy said. "Okay, now step backwards real slow on the count of 3. "Oh, I don't think so," said Roy. 1. Now wait a second. 2. "Please," Roy begged. 3. "I can't." 3, the voice said again. Roy's legs felt like rubber as he teetered backwards. A hand seized his shirt and yanked him into the thicket of pepper trees. As Roy's butt landed in the dirt, a hood came down over his face and arms were jerked behind his back. Before he could react, a rope was looped twice around his wrists and secured to the trunk of a tree. Roy could feel the smooth, sticky bark when he wiggled his fingers. "What's going on?" he demanded. "You tell me," the voice had moved in front of him. "Who are you? Why are you here?" "My name is Roy Eberhardt. I saw you run by the school bus the other day." "I don't know what you're talking about." "On 2 different days, actually," Roy said. "I saw you running and I got curious. You look kind of, I don't know, wired." "It wasn't me." "Yes, it was." The snake wrangler was using a false, husky tone, the voice of a boy trying to sound like a grown-up. Roy said, "Honest, I didn't come here to hassle you. Take off this hood so we can see each other, okay?" He could hear the boy breathing. "Then you're going to have to get out of here, like right now." "But what about the snakes?" "They're mine." "Yeah, but they won't go far. I'll catch them again later." Roy said, "That's not what I meant." The boy laughed. "Don't worry, I'll take you out the back way. Just do as I say and you won't get bit." "What a guy," muttered Roy. The boy untied him from the Brazilian pepper and boosted him to his feet. "I gotta admit, you did pretty good," the boy said. "Most kids would have peed their pants." "Are those cottonmouths?" Roy said. "Yep." The boy sounded pleased that Roy knew what kind of snakes they were. "Where I used to live, we had a lot of rattlers," Roy volunteered. He thought that if they could start a friendly conversation, the kid might change his mind and take the hood off Roy's face. "I never heard of a cottonmouth with sparkles on its tail." "They're going to a party. Now start walking." The boy grabbed Roy from behind and guided him forward. He had a strong grip. "I'll tell you when to duck for branches," he said. The hood was either black or dark blue, and Roy could see a speck of light through the heavy fabric. Blindly, he stumbled and swayed through the thicket, but the barefoot boy kept him from falling. Roy knew they were out of the trees when the air got warmer and the ground beneath his feet got flat. He could smell the fertilized sod of the golf course. Soon they stopped marching, and the kid began to loosen the knots on Roy's wrists. "Don't turn around," he said. "What's your name?" Roy asked. "I don't have a name no more." "Sure you do. Everybody's got a name." The kid grunted. "I've been called Mullet Fingers, and I've been called worse." "You don't really live out here, do you?" "None of your business. What if I do?" "All by yourself? What about your family?" Roy asked. The boy rapped him lightly on the back of the head. "You ask too many nosy questions." "Sorry." Roy noticed the hands were free, but he continued to hold them behind his back. "Don't turn around until you count to 50, the kid instructed him. "Otherwise, you're going to wake up one morning with one of those big old cottonmouths in your bed. Got it?" Roy nodded. "Good. Now start counting." 1, 2, 3, 4, Roy said aloud. When he reached 50, he whipped the hood off his head and wheeled around. He was alone in the middle of the driving range, surrounded by acres of golf balls. The barefoot boy was gone again. Roy ran all the way back to his bicycle and rode home as fast as he could. He wasn't frightened and he wasn't discouraged. He was more excited than ever. Chapter 6. At breakfast the next morning, Roy asked if it was against the law for a kid his age not to go to school. His mother said, "Well, I'm not sure if it's an actual law, but—" "Oh, yes, it is," his father cut in. "Truancy is what it's called." "Can they put you in jail for that?" Roy asked. "Usually they just put you back in school," Mr. Eberhardt said. Half jokingly, he added, "You weren't thinking of dropping out, were you?" Roy said no, school was all right. "I bet I know what this is about," Mrs. Eberhardt said. "You're worried about bumping into that Matherson boy again, right? See, didn't I tell you the apology letter was too assertive?" "The letter was just fine," Roy's father said, spreading open the newspaper. "If it was just fine, why is Roy so scared? Why is he talking about dropping out of school?" "I'm not scared," Roy said, "and I don't want to drop out of Trace Middle. It's just—" His mother eyed him. "What?" "Nothing, Mom." Roy decided not to tell his parents about the encounter with Mullet Fingers, the running boy. Being in law enforcement, Roy's father probably was required to report all crimes, even truancy. Roy didn't want to get the kid in trouble. "Listen to this," Mr. Eberhardt said, and began reading aloud from the newspaper. "A Cotton Cove police cruiser was vandalized early Monday morning while parked at a construction site on East Oriole Avenue. The officer had fallen asleep inside the car at the time, according to a police spokesperson. Can you believe that? Roy's mother clucked. Sleeping on duty? That's disgraceful. They should fire that fella. Roy thought the story was pretty amusing. It gets better, the father said. Listen, the incident happened shortly before sunrise when an unknown prankster sneaked up to the patrol car, a 2001 Crown Victoria, and spray painted the windows with black paint. Roy, who had a mouthful of Raisin Bran, burst out laughing. Milk dribbled down his chin. Mr. Everhart was also smiling while he continued. Coconut Cove Police Chief Merle Deacon declined to release the name of the officer who fell asleep, saying he's part of a special surveillance team investigating property crimes on the east side of town. Deacon said the officer had been recently ill with the flu and had been given medication that made him drowsy. Roy's father looked up from the article. Medication, ha. What else does the story say? Mrs. Everhart asked. Let's see. It says this was the third suspicious incident within a week at this location, which is the future home of a Mother Paula's All-American Pancake House. Roy's mother brightened. We're getting a Mother Paula's here in Coconut Cove? That'll be nice. Roy swabbed a napkin across his chin. Dad, what else happened out there? I was wondering the same thing. Mr. Everhart skimmed the rest of the article. Here it is. Last Monday, unknown intruders uprooted survey stakes from the property. 4 days later, vandals entered the site and placed live alligators in 3 portable toilets. According to the police, the reptiles were captured unharmed and later released into a nearby canal. No arrests had been made. Mrs. Everhart rose and started clearing the breakfast table. Alligator, she said. Good heavens, what's next? Mr. Everhart folded the paper and tossed it on the kitchen table. This is turning out to be an interesting little town after all, isn't it, Roy? Roy picked up the newspaper to see for himself. East Oriole Ave sounded familiar. As he read the story, Roy remembered where he had seen that street sign. Beatrice Leap's bus stop. The place he had first spotted the running boy was on West Oriole Ave, just the other side of the main highway. The article doesn't say how big those gators were, Roy remarked. His father chuckled. I don't think that's important, son. I think it's the thought that counts. The police captain said, I've read your report, David. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Officer Delinko shook his head. His hands were folded on his lap. What could he say? His sergeant spoke up. David understands how serious this is. Embarrassing is the word, the captain said. The chief has been sharing some of the emails and phone messages with me. It's not pretty. Did you see the newspaper? Officer Delinko nodded. He had read and reread the article a dozen times. Each time it made his stomach churn. You probably noticed that your name wasn't mentioned, the captain said. That's because we refused to release it to the media. Yes, thank you, Officer Delinko said. I'm very sorry about all this, sir. As you read Chief Deacon's explanation for what happened, I assume you're comfortable with that? To be honest, sir, I haven't had the flu and I wasn't taking any medication yesterday. David, the sergeant cut in, if the chief says you were taking flu medicine, you were taking flu medicine. And that's where we'll stop.